Welcome to Activate Your Introvert, the weekly radio show to uncover and unlock the entrepreneurial skills in your business. In this week's show, Introvert Myth of the Week. Introverts are not assertive. Tip of the week is to consider unconscious bias. And a discussion with Colin Scotland. Colin helps mission-driven entrepreneurs find clarity and get better results from marketing so they can transform more people's lives. Two things before we speak to Colin. Number one, performance through people. Join me and 10 other subject experts for a 5-day summit on how to get more from the people you employ. There's 2 to 3 presentations a day to challenge your thinking and give you different, very practical ideas you can use to improve your business performance. Tickets are free at introvertinbusiness.co.uk/performance through people. That's on the sleeve notes. And number 2, a quick word about extrovert bias. I've been thinking about it a lot lately when I realised I had a bias that nearly got dinner tipped over my head. An unconscious bias is a bias we're not consciously aware of, surprisingly. It's completely natural, like an instinct. It's an instinctive feeling that influences our thinking, judgment, actions, or non-actions. In effect, an automatic inclination for or against a person or group of people. In the workplace, there are several common biases that drive judgment. Gender may be the first you think of. One that many people don't think about is the extrovert bias, which I'll talk about another week. But what about dinner on my head? At the weekend, I had my COVID jab, and I'll admit I was feeling a bit sorry for myself afterwards, so much so that a very kind person offered to cook me dinner in my kitchen, for which I was very grateful. But as I sat watching, all these beliefs about how to cook pasta, what to do with the saucepans, and even the order you should wash up in came flooding into my mind. Beliefs I've amassed over the years, things that unconsciously affect me. I was about to comment when I remembered we all have biases, but if we consciously stop them from making us act, we can consider them logically. So much the better. You'll be pleased to know I didn't say anything. I did get a wonderful dinner, and I am feeling much better now, thank you. But it was a shock how these things come into the mind and make you want to act. So the thought I'd like to leave you with is the importance of understanding the unconscious bias that you have and how it can be worth putting a brake on it. Do let me know what tip you'd like to help you activate the entrepreneurial skills in your business, or what introvert myth you'd like exposed. Drop me an email, give me a call, or add it as a comment to your review on the iTunes store. I would love to hear from you. But now it's time to talk to Colin. Welcome, Colin.
Hello, John. Lovely to be here.
It's great to see you. Just before we dive in and start talking about marketing, one question I ask all of my guests is, are you an introvert, an extrovert? And perhaps more importantly, what does that mean to you?
What an interesting question. So I would consider myself to be an introvert, although people that know me would kind of laugh at me saying that. They say that the light shines and I kind of dance inside of the light, as somebody that likes the spotlight and is quite extroverted in that sense. But even though I can appear like that, I actually feel like a little trembling boy, shaking on the inside, scared to do a lot of things. And so kind of fought with it with being an introvert for years, right? And people would look at me and go, no way, that guy's an extrovert through and through.
But I think that's interesting though, because many times I've spoken to people that just go, oh, you can't possibly be an introvert. But they are. And it comes down to a bit of a misunderstanding about what introversion is, I think. But no, I love the dancing in the light example. That was lovely. Perhaps we better move on to marketing. Marketing your business. Where do so many people go wrong?
There's a great misconception that marketing is Facebook, social media, creating a blog, creating a website and doing all of this activity, doing things, right? Creating Facebook ads. being busy on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. And actually the essence of what marketing isn't any of those things. So I know some very successful entrepreneurs that build businesses without any of those things. And so
Wow.
it's just about uncovering the essence of what actually drives your business, not what you think drives the business. And often it isn't what you think, John.
That's interesting. And when you talk about essence, as soon as you said that word essence, it reminded me of the big A word that I often hear, authenticity. How important do you think it is in marketing?
There's a great saying, and it's a misquoted Gandhi quote, right, that says, be the change that you want to see in the world. And so if you show up as the person with integrity, looking to serve and to help and transform the lives of others around you, that's how the world shows up for you. So authenticity for me is really expressing your truest version of you. Why every one of us is living and breathing is to find and do that. So I would say it's of the utmost importance.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm kind of like you, I can't see how you can go out and attract people, clients that are then not like the ones that you need because you've been acting differently. But how should a marketer express their personality? And I'm thinking particularly in terms of introverts listening to the show, because I know many introverts hate the kind of me, big showy marketing stuff, because that's so un-introvert. And yet that's what many people see as good marketing. Doesn't seem to gel with authenticity to me.
No, absolutely not. And I think, you're right, John, that's where there is such a misconception, because what we see on the outside isn't actually the stuff that triggers and moves us as human beings. And so I think finding and expressing your truest version of you is the key in all of this. And if you're introvert, embracing that and do it and being you, putting your spin on this isn't the nonsense marketing of, all of that flashy stuff that, I feel a little bit sick inside when I see all of that stuff. And I'm a marketer, right? I live and breathe this stuff. But that's not the thing that actually works and moves people. What moves people is you being you. Nobody else. You being you in your messaging, in how you show up, how you speak, everything that you do. That's what makes what you do successful, not the mechanism, not trying to be somebody that you're not trying to do the things that you see other people doing, but being you.
And so are there ways that people should clearly be them, but do it more? I guess if I was just me and I'm going, well, actually, I just want to have a few quiet conversations, that's me being me, but that might not be enough to grow the business. Are there things that people should amplify themselves, I suppose is what I'm saying? Yeah,
and I think there's two things at play there, aren't there? There's the element of staying inside yourself and kind of keeping a restrictive approach to the way that we show up in the world. And actually the opposite, the expansive approach, where we take our gift and what we're good at and share that more with the world. So it's about that interplay between the two. And whilst we say to embrace your introvertedness, you really have to turn that and use it to take it into a place of expansiveness. And this is where you start to be uncomfortable, because it feels strange. It feels uncomfortable to put yourself into a place outside of your comfort zone. But that's where not only do you grow, but you also begin to attract other people who are attracted to your expression of you. And that really is the essence of marketing that we're talking about. It's about creating these connections and these attractions between you and the people that want to learn from you, that want to be served by you, and that want the transformation that you can deliver. And listen, if we don't speak and share and explore that in a way that makes us feel uncomfortable, how could we ever expect other people to listen and hear the message? My area of expertise is in marketing communications. And if we take a radio signal, for example, right, we can turn the radio on and receive a signal from the radio waves that are transmitted all around us in the air. If those radio transmitter signal masts were to be turned off right now, we could turn that radio on as much as we like. We'd never hear anything. So your goal is to be that radio transmitter and to transmit your message to the world. When you transmit your message to the world, it's received by the people on your wavelength. It's received by the right people.
I like that analogy, because that again says you've got to be on the right wavelength for you to be picked up by the right wavelength of the other people. Might be a great time to ask for a couple of tips. The one tip that you'd share with an introverted business owner that perhaps needs to improve their marketing.
So I would focus on the thing that you're good at. I'll give you a couple of examples, right? So one of the things that I do in my coaching practice is I have a little sign that says create every day, right? And I wave it at all my clients and it drives them insane. You have to explore the act of creating and sharing this voice, this authenticity that we've been talking about. And what I would suggest is that you find your way of sharing. What a lot of people will say is, I don't want to be on video. I don't want to share on video. So that doesn't mean, or that doesn't give you an excuse not to share, not to create value for your audience, for the people that would care about that. You can pick up your mobile phone, you can record and speak to the phone, create an audio file. That could be a podcast, for example. The transcription of the podcast could be a blog post. The blog post could be split and splintered into 20 little social media posts that go out into the world of social on your social posting schedule. You've shared your voice. That's an example for somebody that doesn't like to be on video of how you can still express you. What I would suggest that you do is really find the ways that you can express yourself. For some it's speaking, for some it's writing, for some it's video, whatever it is, explore and find how you can do that and then do it. That's it. Do it.
Love it. So explore the best way for you and then do it. I'm going to flip this the other way for a second because I always talk about non-introverts because we have quite a lot of non-introverted people who manage and want to influence introverts to listen to the show as well. So if I was a non-introvert and was worried that my marketing message was not landing properly with some of the quieter people that I wanted to attract, what might I do?
I think with that, you've got the whole wavelength question at play again there, haven't you? You know, in terms of if your message isn't kind of landing. We have this interesting thing as human beings where we have a feeling, a sense of affinity with other people that we come into contact with. When we have this affinity, there's a level of affinity that we have, right? When we have this affinity, then other people feel attracted to us and to the things that we say. When the affinity level is low, then the opposite is true. So the way that marketing works actually is in terms of creating that affinity. So often demonstrating and solid understanding of your audience, if your audience are introvert, demonstrating a solid understanding is the thing that makes them go, she gets me, or he gets me. And I think having that ability to create affinity in that way is really the thing that you're trying to find there, John.
I like it. Thank you. Colin, I really enjoyed that conversation. Thank you. I'm sure some of the listeners will want to get back in touch with you. What's the best way for them to do that?
I've enjoyed it too. Thank you, John. The best way to get in touch is via my website, colinscotland.com. There are a ton of free resources around communication and all of the things we've spoken about today.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great talking.
Pleasure. Thank you, John.
And now it's time for Introvert Myth of the Week. Those crazy stories that I hear and you hear, but some people actually believe. All that thinking about marketing made me think about assertiveness. There's a myth that introverts are not assertive. It's wrong. Yes, there are some non-assertive introverts, but that's equally true for extroverts. An assertive person is confident, may be forceful, and will stick to her opinion unless given a good reason to change their point of view. That's an implication that they listen, and that's a big distinction to arrogance. Being assertive is not the same as loud, aggressive, or arrogant. Many introverts struggle with loud people, and let's be honest, not many people really like arrogant or aggressive people. If you want to be more assertive, a good starting place might be your introvert, internally generated self-confidence. Let others know what you're good at and what your views are. Be confident in your abilities. Remind yourself of the good things others say about you. Arrogance and a strong self-belief are not the same things. You can have a self-belief, be assertive, and successful in business without being arrogant. An arrogant person is often rude and unlikely to listen to another's point of view. And as most introverts are very good listeners, I strongly doubt that's something you really need to even worry about.
Thank you for listening to Activate Your Introvert, and I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. I'd love to see your reviews on the iTunes store. Thank you once again, and catch up with you next week.